A Day with the Stranger, Part 2, a short story by Adebimpe Odefunsho. An obscure figure emerged from the darkness and walked towards him. Dan's face turned white as if he had just seen a ghost. He stood lifeless, waiting for the unexpected to happen. The thought of what would become of him overwhelmed him, and his legs trembled in fear as he stared at the approaching object. Now he could see a stout masculine figure holding a flashlight coming towards him. "What are you doing there?" The man's voice bonged aloud, reawakening Dan's senses. I. Dan stammered as the word fell off incoherently from his mouth. A fair-looking man came into view. He had long wavy hair and a pair of bulging eyes. His mustache was neatly shaped and graciously joined his moderately grown beard. He was a good-looking young man. "I'm Dan. I lost my way." Finally, Dan was able to force the words out of his mouth. The man looked sternly at him, inspecting him from his crown to his feet. "Intruders are not welcomed in my garden," he replied firmly. "No, I'm not an intruder. I lost my way," Dan retorted convincingly. The man took a close look at Dan, then paused and said, "Come with me." Dan followed him with his heart almost jumping out of his chest. He looked around suspiciously, expecting a carnivore to jump out of the closet and pounce on him. They went past a row of nicely pruned flowers. Then they stopped in front of a yellow bungalow. The man opened the door and signaled with his hand, ushering Dan inside the house. He entered and they stepped into a large cozy room. Although not fully illuminated, Dan could sense the room was well decorated and furnished. The man took Dan to another room adjacent to a long corridor in the middle of the house. "We will talk tomorrow," he said to Dan as he unlocked the door and immediately turned to take his leave. Dan stood speechless. He didn't expect such a huge favor with little or no scrutiny. He went quietly into the room and closed the door behind him. He sighted a well-laid bed at the end of the room, a trash bin at the corner, and a flower vase on an old wooden table at the other corner. Dan sat on the floor, still perplexed at the series of events. The muzzle felt too big for him to swallow. His eyes stayed widely apart, unable to catch a blink. He could hear some mutterings at the end of the corridor, but could not deduce what exactly was said. Then he saw a shadow cast on the room's door, and he stared fearfully at the door's handle, waiting for it to be turned. The shadow lingered for some minutes before it finally vanished, and he heaved a sigh of relief. Bang! Dan jumped up after he heard the blasting sound from outside the room. He looked around, trying to figure out what just happened to him. It was then he realized he had fallen asleep. He reached for the windows, opened the curtains, and peeped through to see what was outside. He couldn't believe it was daylight. Dan stepped quietly out of the room, hoping to find his way to the sitting room. "How was your night?" he heard someone say to him from behind. He turned and saw a man smiling at him, the man he saw the previous night. He looked friendly and receptive, but more handsome than the way he was. Dan stood dumbfounded for a minute, then he smiled and replied, "Fine." The man asked the lady to take Dan to the bathroom and give him a brown pair of trousers and a yellow t-shirt to change into. She later brought him to the dining table, where a palatable meal was served. Dan sat down at the table facing the man, thinking of what would happen next. The man started the conversation and Dan told him what had happened to him the previous night. He seemed to be a man of few words. The man drove with Dan to find his car and they were able to salvage the situation together. Unfortunately for Dan, he was able to hit the road in no time. He recounted each moment with a smile as he drove along the road. But then he realized something. He realized he had made a grievous mistake. A mistake he never thought he could make. He realized he never asked for the man's name nor his house address. He stepped on the car brake and took a swift reverse. He turned back and immediately headed for Lavender. Dan's hope came alive when he saw the road banner, then he drove around trying to see if he could maneuver his way to the man's house. After 3 hours of driving and futile effort of locating the man's house, he decided to continue his journey back to Bencancer. Dan's countenance fell. He was really shattered. He narrated his experiences to Laura and her husband when he got to Bencaster, and were deeply touched by them all. Maybe he was an angel. Maybe he wasn't a woman after all, Dan thought to himself. He kept the brown trousers and yellow t-shirt he was given as a memorial, and he remained forever grateful to the kind, mysterious stranger.